Hello everyone, I'm Rishi Persad and welcome back to Racing Weekly, a podcast and YouTube show brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. Steve Ryder, as always, alongside me, and this week we welcome back to the show Ed Quigley. Ed, it's lovely to see you. Give us your view on how you think the season's gone so far and whether you believe that this season is going to be more competitive between British and the Irish.
Yeah, lovely to be here, Rishi. Yeah, in answer to your question, first question, I'm enjoying it. I think it's really exciting stuff. We've had some real competitive action. Even when we've had small fields, there's been a real element of uncertainty to them. As in, you all have your different viewpoints, like the fighting fifth, for example. There was all different strands of form, the Tingle Creek, etc. Everyone had their view. In terms of the across the sea kind of debate, yeah, gut feeling is it is going to be more competitive. I mean, Dan Skelton team's just gone up a level, doesn't he? Nicky Henderson's got a lot of ammunition still to fire. A couple of horses coming through, like Lulamba, been impressive. Act of Innocence, I thought, was actually quite smart in winning over hurdles. Probably hasn't quite got the credit he deserves. So, yeah, a lovely blend at the moment. But my overall feeling is it's bubbling under. And there are a lot of big clashes still to happen. And, yeah, thoroughly looking forward to it.
And a proper salvo from Willie Mullins last weekend, Steve, with Il Etait Temps, who we'll talk more about, obviously, in Racing Recap. But in terms of the Trainers' Championship, we've got a little bit more substance now to talk about.
Yeah, I think he was 0 from 12 going into the Tingle Creek with his escapades, with Patrick coming over to ride at the likes of Huntingdon and Utoxeter and the likes. But yeah, the win in the Tingle Creek has got him 134 grand. That puts him 37th in the standings. And to put that into perspective, Kim Bailey and Matt Nichols are one behind him. They're 18 from 95. So Willie Mullins, as he always will do, is targeting the big, valuable races over in the UK. And it is going to be fascinating to see if he can bridge that gap, which I think is currently 1.7 million to Dan Skelton. But as we all know, it's going to be the springtime that those big races are going to be the valuable ones.
Of course, just for people who are interested, and some people say that's ridiculous to be talking about it now, but with Bet365, Dan Skelton is the 2-7 favourite to win the Trainers' Championship. Willie Mullins 5-2 and 25 bar that. What do you think of it so far, Ed?
Yeah, a little bit early for myself. And naturally, when we get to the Grand Nationals and Cheltenham Festivals of this world, there will be huge swings in the prize money. But say, it will be interesting where Willie Mullins places his horses, which ones he keeps for Ireland. We saw St Sam come over to the Peterborough Chase, which was good prize money. That plan kind of went west. Who does he bring over? Who comes over for the Christmas hurdle, etc., etc.? Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a conundrum. In terms of that actual angle, I probably will pay more attention to it in the spring. But as I say, it will be a case of Mr. Skelton trying to get the cash in the bank now, I think. So.
Indeed, because Willie Mullins will be coming strong towards the end of the season. OK, it's time for this week's Racing Recap. And we start at Sandown with the running of the Tingle Creek Chase. Won in impressive style by Il Etait Temps. And all the way through, he looked very comfortable. Paul Townend obviously made that move on the home bend, but he was far superior.
He was far superior. We got a sight of this back in April, didn't we, in the Celebration Chase, where perhaps it was the changing of the guard as he went past John Bon in pretty effortless fashion. And we start to think that was John Bon's fortress. And then once again, he's confirmed that superiority and in no uncertain terms put John Bon away. John Bon's credit, he did gallop up the hill. He didn't fold and fall out the back of the television. In regards to John Bon, there's clearly a lot of different thoughts in terms of where his trip should have been. There was mooting he would go for perhaps a King George at the start of the season. He was entered in the Peterborough Chase, let's not forget. They stuck to 2. Nicky Henderson has said going further forward, he will now go up in trip. They're potentially talking about Ascot in February, aren't they, for the 2.5 miler. But as regards to Il Etait Temps, very nice, very slick jumper. He's not the biggest, is he? You see him in the paddock, there's not much of him, but at Sandown and other tracks, he seems to get from A to B very quickly. Whether he can do it at Presby Park or not is going to be the question we could debate on another day. But yeah, Il Etait Temps, most superior. Out of all of them, I wouldn't be giving up on Load of Sud. We'll come on to him again a bit later. Yeah. I just think he ran like a horse who, I think it was Steve's words, I quoted them, put them on my bedroom wall. There's no such thing as an easy race on heavy ground. And I think that was kind of borne out there on Saturday. Only 3 weeks earlier, yeah, he thumped John Bon in the opposition at Cheltenham in an absolute bog. And Harry Skelton's words, as soon as he unsaddled, said he just felt totally flat. and he now goes straight to Cheltenham in 4 months' time. So I think he could be a player come March. But Il Etait Temps, very smart horse, and yeah, it was all grins from Paul Cowden.
I also don't think that Lurdersid enjoys Sandown as much as he does Cheltenham. That's my
Last
year when he won the Henry VIII, he didn't jump as well as he did when he won it,
No.
and he just never looked to travel with the same ease. But
Yeah, no, I think that's a valid point. Yeah.
park him to one side. Il Etait Temps, very impressive. John Bon, 2 mile days done.
Yeah, I think so. He travelled better in first-time cheap pieces, but it was just his jumping still, isn't it? Like, if you look, jump index was 6.2 rather than the 6 at Cheltenham. So I think because of that, you can upgrade the performance. Because if his jumping ever does come back, then he is going to be a player in these big races still. I've heard a lot about, John Bon's gone, he's not going to be in another Grade 1. But I really think he can, if that jumping can improve.
Yeah.
Because to finish only 9 lengths behind Il Etait Temps, to finish 9 lengths ahead of Lurdersid with a jump index of 6.2 means that you can upgrade that as a performance. I do think he now needs to go up in trip. I think the whole season should be around the Melling Chase. Obviously, he's got a superb record at Aintree. I think he's 4 from 4 at Aintree. Obviously, won the Melling Chase last year in impressive fashion. And if it was me, I'd go Ascot and straight to Aintree. Whether they can resist the lure of the Cheltenham Festival, I've got my thoughts of where some of the JP horses might go when we talk about it in a bit. But yeah, that's where I'd go with him. But talking about the winner, he's a funny horse, isn't he? Like you touched on, he's small. He wears a hood, so I don't think you can ever call him a gorgeous grey. And he's never going to be one of these horses that you have a highlight reel of his extravagant jumps, because he doesn't. He's just efficient getting from A to B, but he's just a really, really good horse. He's 7 from 9 over fences, 4 of those at Grade 1 levels. And he's now that number 1 in the division, isn't it? You look back at jockey bookings previously, Paul Townend had ridden Facile Vega over him, he'd ridden Gaelic Warrior over him. I don't think he'll be giving up this ride anytime soon.
Okay, we'll come to the betting for the Champion Chase in just a moment, but we should do so with the context of what happened in the Hilly Way. I'll start with you here, Steve, because one of your favourite horses is Majborough. And again, let's focus on jumping. Wasn't good enough on this occasion. Found a 50, pretty consistent horse, and this is his trip 2 miles.
Found a 50 was hard fit. The 3 mile experiment didn't work when he was beaten by MVLM, but he's then beaten Dino Blue by 5 lengths. He's beaten Marshborough by 1.5 lengths. The Grade 2 level is his level, though, and at this time of the season, I think it is as well. He's 1 from 4 at Grade 1 level. That Grade 1 victory was, I think, a head victory over Master Chewy at Aintree in what looked a weak renewal. But this would have been his big target as a stepping stone, whereas I think if you take him out of the race, what would we be talking about this race if Marshborough had beaten a Nergamine, a 2-time winner of the race? I think previously, if he'd beaten him by 7.5 lengths, he'd be Champion Chase favourite, and you'd go, if he can get his jumping together, he's then going to prove hard to beat in the Champion Chase. But I found it quite interesting because I thought, like most people, after the race, that Marshborough didn't jump very well. And then I looked at the jump index, and I'll park that, but he actually achieved the highest jump index of the race, which you couldn't quite believe. So I then went back and watched every single jump, and the only jump that he has lost ground to the remainder of the field was the second last, when he did make a mistake to Found a 50. He just has a strange jumping technique, and we saw it at Leopardstown, didn't we, last season, where there were oohs and ahs from the crowd, but actually he's really quick getting over it. It's as if he hurdles them, because he's such a big horse. He doesn't jump like your normal arc. He kind of hurdles them, which is dangerous. But he's so fast away from those fences, he doesn't actually lose that ground. Now, I don't think we'll ever see him going back right-handed again, because he does jump left-handed. And it's just, for me, it seems to be his inability to shorten into a jump that he then goes, I'm just going to take a chance and go slightly left in order to try and get myself out of the situation. But I wouldn't be so downbeat on him. My question around him is, what trip is he going to be best over going forward?
The thing you point out is the fact that he does have that weakness with his jumping, and there are few races that expose it more than the Queen Mother Champion Chase at the Cheltenham Festival. So that's where my main concern with him is. What did you make of that race? What is the likelihood that Found a 50 might be a Queen Mother Champion Chase horse, when even his trainer, Gordon Elliott, is saying he's a Grade 2, Grade 3 horse, he's not quite Grade 1 level?
The second part of that question, I'd agree with that. I think this is the perfect time for Found a 50 now. I think once the other horses reach their peak in the spring, he will just be below the top division. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it, in regards to, again, the trip angle. I think this, again, Willie Mullins got a bit of a conundrum here in regards to, yeah. Your point on the Champion Chase is the point from the Arkle, isn't it, really? The mistakes were there, that split second. His strength is his weakness, a bit like Harry Brook, as they keep saying, like averages 55, but will go and run a ball, but then he'll nick off for 38 for a ball which he could have left. When Masborough gets it right, as we saw at Punchestown, they don't see which way he goes. But he's going to throw in there was that chaser, wasn't that Big Zeb about 15 years ago, who would jump like wow, to use Derek Thompson's words, and you would be absolutely enthralled. But then now and again would absolutely jump like a vending machine through one, and you'd be like, what's going on here? And it's in Masborough's locker, isn't it? To absolutely plough through one. And I could see Willie Mullins' cogs turning, whether they go up in trip, as he says, to 2.5, and that half a yard slower will give him more time to organise himself. There's no guarantees. He doesn't do the same over that trip. So, and then there's the politics of John Bon, factor file. How does everything get amalgamated within that division? An interesting tangent to go off on. Yeah. I'm on the fence with Masborough. It's not going to surprise me if he rocks up in the Champion Chase in March and wins. The same token, if he unseats in a Ryanair, I'm not surprised. That's where I am with him at the moment. He's a horse of wonderful ability, but tread carefully.
All right, well, let's throw the Queen Mother Champion Chase discussion open now. Il Etait Temps, the 11-4 favourite with Bet365. Marine Nationale, 4-1, the defending champion. Marlborough is 6-1. Sergino, 7-1, but he's heading over hurdles potentially for the Christmas hurdle. Founder 50 16s, Lurdersud 16s, and then Factor File 25s along with John Bon, bigger prices. I'll let you have first dibs on, if you had to have a go now.
I have. Yeah, I have had a go now. I think this, as you say, it's a zany shape-up, isn't it? With Il Etait Temps' worry of course form, Marine Nationale, etc., etc. I think there's a lurker in here. 33-1, Bet365, only by night for Gavin Cromwell. Okay. The yard, well documented, not firing on all cylinders. They're 4 from 128 since the 1st of November, 3% strike rate. One of those 4 is only by night on a comeback trail where I thought she travelled well, jumped well, showed real guts to win. There's no way she's a 33-1 poke on a novice chase form. Of course, she's got Masborough, Lodesud held on that Arkle running. She was leading with 55 yards to go and only got pipped, of course, by Django Bay, etc. If you go back to Gavin Cromwell in September, he says it's a case of working back from the mare's chase. That does not sit right with me somehow. I don't see why she would want that stamina test for one who travels so strongly. And the fact she did manage to come out and win, given the yard of stone cold at the moment, you could probably upgrade that. And I say her novice chase form really stacks up with all the protagonists here. She'll get a mare's allowance. I think she could be the put the kettle on for the Cromwells, if you see what I'm saying, was almost a bit dismissed of, oh, she's a smart mare, she's nice, but never really got the credit she deserved. The fact she's come back and won when the yard are out of form. I was checking her entries again. She's entered in the 2-miler at Christmas, so we keep getting fed this line of we're working back from the mare's chase. I think she's too much of a classy travelling type to be going up to 2.5 on the new course. Not for me. I think she's a big price, and she is a bit dismissed in a market where her collateral form is robust and more than entitles her to tie in with those at single figures. So I think she's in a race, as you say, a shape-up, which has got this weird kind of outlook to it at the moment. Only by night for me, I think could be a dark horse.
Okay, good case, but only by night, Steve?
It was a good case. I do like that. It's one of those ones that you've backed and you'd be sweating all the way up until the first week of March. Way they're going to, because Connections will probably look at both races and go, okay, I'm going to go there. I'm going to be in the same sort of boat. I've backed Factor File at 25-1 for the Champion Chase. Now, that's with, I think, John Bon going up in trip to the Ryanair Chase. It's probably reliant on the fact that if Marlborough gets beaten at Christmas over 2 miles again, the fact that they may well go up in trip. And then you look at the Ryanair. If you take Factor File out of the Ryanair, you've got Django Bay and Gaelic Warrior, who I'd say are more likely to go for the Gold Cup. You've then got Marlborough, Il Etait Temps, who's going for the Champion Chase, the Jukebox Man, John Bon, Grey Dawning, and then Paris Pass. So if you take Factor File out of that, it looks a weak race. So my thought is, if JP, who's never won the Champion Chase, who is he going to have a better chance to win the Champion Chase with? What price would Factor file B, no run and no bet in the champion chase market here. I would say about 3-1 would be where I'd probably go for Factor file, no run and no bet in the champion chase. So you have him running in a champion chase, and you then have Marsborough and John Bon running in a Ryanair chase, who would both be around 3-4-1.
Yeah.
And I think that is the way that I would do it.
Fact files flop it Punchestown. You put that down to end of the season when he tried 2
100%.
miles. Yeah, okay.
He was beaten after less
Nothing
than a
to
mile.
do with the trip.
No,
Okay, yeah,
not at all. I think he just comes alive in March, spring round, Cheltenham. That Ryanair win last year was arguably the performance of the festival. Yeah. And I think they may well just look at it and hope that the 2 darts go for the Ryanair and 1 dart goes for the champion chase. And I think it's worth a couple of quid at 25-1.
Jaguar might win this weekend and throw himself into the Ryanair picture as well. A really good case. And I like the fact that you've both followed my line of thinking as well. So I've confidence in that Il Etait Temps is vulnerable because it's Cheltenham. Obviously, Marine Nationale has to come back, but he's a solid horse if he is the same horse as he was last year. Doubts about Madgeburgh's jumping. Sergino probably not going to run in it if he goes down the hurdle route. Founder 50 probably not good enough. So I ended up with L'Heure de Sud because I thought Cheltenham is his. I would like them to go straight.
He is.
Yeah.
Make sure he doesn't go wrong again.
Yeah.
I don't want them to end up in the game spirit.
No, straight there, fresh.
Festival. Yeah. I think he could get placed at least at 16-1.
Well, he'll travel as well as anything coming.
He's a better jumper than most of them,
Yeah.
especially around Cheltenham, and he'll travel better. And in the Arkle last year, he perhaps was in front a little bit too soon as well, and he'd been on a searing pace at the front, so near the front. So we're all on double figure price. 16 L'Heure de Sud.
It's that sort of race, though, isn't it?
25's Factor Fire, and exactly only by night at 33s, and it is December, so we could say whatever we want. Who knows what's going to happen in the coming months? All right, let's focus on the novices division. Lulamba won the Henry VIII. I'm going to say, Steve, I'll start with you here. Up to the first 2 fences of the race, I wasn't sure A, he was going to win, or certainly B, be as impressive as he was.
Yeah, I previewed it. I was taking Lulamba on based on the prices, and everything's about prices, isn't it? And having been a backer of Be Aware, after 2 fences, I was very happy with how the race was going. Harry Skelton had Lulamba under pressure, and he was detached last. Like, from the comments last week, I know viewers love the data of jump indexes and things. So let me just read through the jump index of the 3 finishers. Be Aware 7.7, Lump Sum 7.6, Lulamba 7.5. So on average across the whole race, Lulamba jumped the worst of the 3 and still managed to win by 9.5 lengths on the bridle. Data is how you look at it. So if he could sharpen up his jumping early at that pace, took a bit of a chance at the last, was very flamboyant. But yeah, if that jumping can improve, he could be a serious horse. They tested the ability to go that 2 mile pace, and I thought he did pass it eventually. The move that Nico made down the back just before the railway fences, I thought won him the race. And as a Be Aware backer, if I was stood in a betting shop, I'd have scrumpled my ticket and thrown it in a bin, because at that stage you knew that Lulamba was going to win. Even at that stage, I didn't quite think he'd be as impressive as he was.
And some people may hear our discussion on Madgeburgh and go, well, you're talking about Madgeburgh and you're being negative about his jumping because he hasn't really got it together. Occasionally he might do. But in fairness, Lulamba's only had a couple of starts, so he is open to being a better jumper. And if he is, as Steve says, he could be a real top-notcher.
Absolutely. As you say, light on experience. He's putting away good horses as well. You look on official ratings, he's putting away high 140s horses with the minimum of fuss. He's the staying 2 miler, isn't he?
Getting weight, obviously.
Yeah, he's getting weight. I mean, I don't think he's quite going to be Django Bay, if you see what I'm saying.
Yes.
Who's probably an out-and-out stayer who got away with it on deep ground. But yeah, I mean, it's just setting up beautifully, isn't it? It's the clash we all want in a few months' time would be Kopek de Board, who's the opposite type of animal, who lives on his toes, who's fizzy, will almost run down his fences, but is electric. Whereas even over 2 miles, I think Lambert almost slightly behind the bridle to a little bit, and then his stamina really kicks in. That would just be my only slight reservation if we got a proper, you ran him in a real spring round 2 mile race and they went Edredon Blur style at the head of affairs. Would he have the early gears to stick with them? Yeah. That's my only, I mean, I could be clutching at straws there. Fascinating horse. Hope he stays fit. You say the world's his oyster, isn't he? 4-year-old, done that already. Great to see.
Let's just have a little chat about the Arkle. Kopek de Board and Lulamba, 2-1 joint favourites with Bet365. Romeo Culio, 11-2, 16-1 bar those.
He's the elephant in the room, isn't he, Romeo Culio? Listening to Matt Chapman interview the owners saying, we'll go to Cheltenham, we don't know what trip it is. We're more likely to come down to 2. And then Gordon Elliott speaking to Gary O'Brien saying we would seriously consider him about 3 miles. So who knows? It's Elliott bingo, isn't it? Not Mullins bingo. But Romeo Coolio's looked imperious so far. You can't knock the way he's transitioned to the chasing ranks. And he's going to have to be better over fences, isn't he? Because he was quite comfortably held by Kopek de Board on the evidence of Cheltenham last year. But fascinating horse, and it's going to be a lot of and ahhing as regards to Romeo Coolio's concerned going further forward.
Have you got something at a big price in there?
I thought, when using the Be Aware collateral form again here, I don't think July Flower is $1 million to be getting involved. Another mare here, Henry de Bromhead, a yard again, who are well out of form. They're 0 from 36 the last fortnight. I think they're 2 from 55. The yard just not firing all cylinders, but this is not unusual for Henry de Bromhead, if you look through the trends of previous years. Whereas Gavin Cromwell was often very hot at this time of year, Henry de Bromhead, the daffodils come out and the yard improve. I think she's a very nice jumper. He admitted last year perhaps he had got the trip wrong for her. They've dropped her back to 2 miles, and I thought she did it nicely. Now look, she beat Be Aware 2 lengths, Lulamba, Thump Be Aware, so he's got to make up a bit of ground, but I think with improvement, spring, I could see her getting in the frame, the top 3 or 4 around, was she 20 to 1. Whether she's got the residual kind of class to top of the big 2 remains to be seen. But yeah, July Flower, I can't see her running in any other race either at the festival. I don't think she's a gazillion.
All right, July Flower. Steve?
I'd share the same sentiments, to be honest. I don't really want to pick between Kopek de Board and Lulamba. You kind of just want them both to arrive there unbeaten.
Scarf, yeah.
Well, you want them both to arrive there unbeaten, don't you? You want Kopek de Board to win that 2 mile 1 novice chase at Christmas, win the Irish Arkle at the Dublin Racing Festival and go there unbeaten. You want now Lulamba to either go for the Game Spirit or the Kingmaker at Warwick and go there unbeaten and have the proper Irish UK clash in an Arkle. And I think if those 2 are both arrive there unbeaten, I think you'll see a 4 or 5 runner race. So you probably could do worse than back in July Flower each way at around 16 to 1. Okay. Because you'll get 3 places at this time, and there's not going to be 8 runners on the day.
I'm a fan of Romeo Coolio, full stop.
What would you do with him, Rishi?
2 miles. Arkle,
Yeah, okay.
I think it's going to be fascinating what they do at Christmas. So I made this point, because if they go to Limerick for the 2.5 mile race, number one, they'll find final demand there. Yeah. But you're not going to answer your question, are you? No. I'd run him 2 mile 1 against Kopek de Board, see if you're good enough at that pace, and if you're not, then do the 3 miles.
Yeah, I think that's a much better option. But I think also I think we were talking about it last week. I think he's a much improved model as well. He looks different.
Happier over fence.
He just looks comfortable, and his jumping.
So good.
Is looking very slick. Might talk about the Brown Advisory next when we talk about the Isha Novices Chase, in which Salva beat Doyen Quest. And of course, Salva was behind Lulamba when they ran at Exeter. I'll start with you here, Ed, on Salva. Is he a realistic player? What is he for the 25 to 1 for the Brown Advisory with Bet365?
Gut feeling is he's not. I think he's quite ground dependent. The Moors have said that. He almost strikes me as like maybe a Welsh national horse for next year. Whether he is... I mean, he ran well, didn't he, in the Triumph Hurdle, so you can't say he's not got track form. My gut feeling is that was his day, and I may be doing the horse a disservice. I think if he gets his specific requirements, he will really come alive. And it was a very nice ride, I thought. Ridden very cold at the back. They were all kind of scrapping at the head of affairs, produced wonderfully. And yeah, I mean, it's opened up a new avenue for him, hasn't it, over longer trips. I just wonder, left-handed Cheltenham Spring doesn't feel his kind of ballpark, but a lovely horse, and I'm sure there's going to be big prizes to be won with him.
Yeah, and if anyone listened to the commentary of that race, it always felt that Doyen Quest was going to be a hard target to pass because of the way the race unfolded. And then, as you say, the way he was ridden, Salva, there was never any doubt that he was going to see the race out well. Well,
the race completely changed complexion, didn't it? Because I thought Harry Skelton had got away over the last of the railway fences, and you thought, oh, this is done. And then jumping the pond fence, there was only going to be one winner, wasn't there? Suddenly, Caelan Quinn goes there completely on the bridle, and yeah, going up in trip has helped this horse. Soft ground is definitely important. If you get a soft ground Christmas, like I'd say the Corto Star would be a logical place for him. 3 miles, Kempton going right-handed, soft ground. I think that would probably... If he were mine, that would be the big target, but I think you could probably forget about him for spring festivals.
OK. The Winter Novices Hurdle that took place at Sandown on Friday went the way of no drama this end. And ultimately, he was pretty impressive. There was one little moment where Harry Cobden had to squeeze him just about turning into the straight, but he was back on the bridle and he was really impressive again.
I was going to describe him as the perfect staying chaser for the future because he's relaxed, even slightly behind the bridle around in the bend, like you said, jumps well, just seems so professional. And then I saw like a 10-second clip pop up on X, and it was him in the parade ring, and he had two handlers, and he was playing up a bit, and I thought, hang on a minute, this isn't the horse that I saw on the race course. But you do get horses like that, don't you? As soon as the jockey gets on, they're like, okay, now I've got a job to do, and I'm going to settle down, and I know what I need to do. I love this horse. I really, really looking forward to him for the remainder of the season, and surely going novice chasing next season. It's whether they go down the Turners route, whether they go down the Albert Bartlett route. They've tried with different horses previously, haven't they? Yeah. Brave Man's Game, Hermes Allen, Captain Teague. He may well be better than those.
So they avoid the shallow. That's because originally that seemed like the plan.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be quite close to back it up.
Yeah. And it's going back to what I said. You don't get an easy race even if you've won on that sort of ground on the bridle. So it is going to be, this is going to be a brave call by Paul Nicholls on what he does on arguably what could be a stable star.
Well, he's 11-2 for the Turners with Bet365, 12-1 for the Albert Bartlett with the same firm. What are your thoughts on what the future might hold for him this season?
I don't see him in an Albert Bartlett. It feels very, I'm totally wrong, but feels Paul Nicholls-y to run him in the Albert Bartlett. I could imagine he probably will end up in the 2.5 miler. We've kind of seen this film before though, haven't we? I just don't want to get carried away with, the horse looks brilliant, but...
What's your doubt?
There'll be 3 or 4 in Ireland, which we probably haven't seen Willie Mullins unleash yet, which do just click. And by the time we get to the DRF, we're sitting there going, wow, again, about something that's just scooted in the Nathaniel Lacey or something. So there's no doubt in what he's achieved so far. It's just, I'm slightly more, next year's chasing feels more him. If he ran round in third at one of the festivals, I don't actually think Connection would be all that disappointed, if you see what I'm saying. I think he just looks a stunning chaser for the future. So I couldn't entertain him as a bet for the spring festivals, but that's not knocking him in a sense. I think he's got a wonderful future ahead of him.
Okay, a horse who is seemingly in the peak of his powers, or at the peak of his powers, is Jello, who won the Peterborough Chase for the second successive year. He's 10-1 with Bet365 for the King George. How realistic are his King George chances in what, as you pointed out at the very start of the show, could be a relatively deep race for the King George?
I think they're quite realistic. I actually do. It was interesting listening to Charlie Deutsch afterwards, where he said he knew he had the race basically 1 furlong and a half out, and he deliberately, under instructions, it sounds like for Venetia, do not empty the tank at all. And he's allowed him to coast home with the view of keeping cash in the bank for Kempton. He seems to be a horse who just loses it when the sun comes out, doesn't he? In the spring, as a general rule. Very good at this time of year. I'm really impressed with his Charlie Hall win on a left-handed track, better ground, slight question mark still about his stamina, and he really dug in and showed a real resolution. Here it was a different type of thing, wasn't it? It was more in his backyard, cruise round. You could argue the main market rival Bomb Down didn't give him much of a race, but saw last year he thumped Protectorat. I don't think he's a 1,000,000-to-1 here. He's going for the race. He's probably got up his game a little bit more, and there's always that in the back of your mind. How much did Huntingdon take out of him with a 3-week turnaround? But in a race which is a bit of an open year, the King George, he's got to come into the equation in each way play.
Well, he's actually, I did him a disservice. He's 8-1 with Bet365 for the King George. Gaelic Warrior 7-4 favourite. Django Bay 2-1. The Jukebox Man 5s. Factifile 9s, last year's winner Banbridge 16s, 20s fast or slow in Il Etait Temps, 33-1 bar those. What did you make of Jello's performance on the weekend? Is he just a better horse? Because he's only 7.
Yeah, exactly. 7 going in. Yeah. He just does seem extremely progressive. And you think with these horses that have been running in Grade 1 novice chases and not quite making it up, that they'll never make up that gap. But he is one that could do it. Was impressive in this last year, was impressive in it this year. I thought it was a good ride tactically by Charlie Deutsch. Charlie Hall held him up, made his challenge late this time, was at pains not to let St Sam get an easy lead, and jumped well, travelled well, and is entitled to go to Kempton. Wouldn't be my selection in it, but yeah, fair play.
What is your selection for the King George right now?
I think Fast or Slow is a bit too big. I actually quite liked his return in the John Dirk, and I really liked him for the race last year, obviously before injury. And you've got to think he was off over 365 days prior to that run in the John Dirk. And I thought the way that Martin Brazel trains, I thought, yeah, he'd be interested in going right-handed, jumping rail, plenty of pace in the race. I thought around 20s. I thought he was probably overpriced in it. I haven't backed him yet, though.
Okay. A King George selection?
My anti-post book is essentially against Gaelic Warrior, so I could be in for a very nervy Christmas dinner, couldn't I? But Django Bay would be my on-top selection.
Yeah.
Thoroughly unexposed, love the comeback run. But Jukebox Man looks exciting. I think Jello's a player. Exciting race, but again, it probably will cut up to 6 or 7 runners. But yeah, Django Bay if forced. I just worry. The reason being I'm against Gaelic Warrior, I think that was a brute of a race. And I would worry that's just left its mark. That's obviously an unquantifiable. We don't know. But that was a real... I just slightly worry about those two going further forward. Whether Gaelic Warrior can back it up again, I wonder if he may have left half his season behind there. But that's just obviously personal conjecture.
Okay. Much more discussion on the King George in next week's episode as well. But lots of good performances in and around all that we've seen. Potentially Supreme Novices Hurdle winner, who knows? But let's open the floor up, Ed, and you can pick out anything else from the last week or so that you might want to give a mention.
Yeah, I've just got one for the notebook. We've spoken about Henry de Bromhead, and one of the almost forgotten horses of his yard. Don't forget, he's a Supreme Novice Hurdle winner. Slade Steel was beaten by Predator's Gold. It's amazing with the hindsight, isn't it? It's the world we live in now. You're either a world beater or you're absolutely useless. Now, Slade Steel wins the Supreme, gets beaten on Chase debut.
Game over.
Discard, game over. Yeah, he's at 0 from 3 over fences. He had a setback. He came back and ran a really nice race when beaten, finishing runner-up on his comeback trail after a year off. But you actually look at the body of form again in defeat, and it isn't all that bad. Being beaten a length and a half by Lecky Watson isn't bad form at all. Behind Predator's Gold, pulled a long way clear of Wingman in third, etc., etc. You start going through it, and I think this is a horse who's got mileage. His Irish mark is 147 here. Now you can see where I'm going. He needs one more mark to qualify for some of the Spring Festival handicaps. Now some of us make Christmas shopping lists, but I make lists of horses who can win Ultima handicaps. I've put Slade Steel here. The race Ireland never win. I think there's, look, the Ultima I say with a pinch of salt, I think there's a big 3-mile handicap chase written down for Slade Steel here. I'm convinced he wants to go up in trip. He just lacks a gear at the end of his 2.5-mile races. They rode him differently on his comeback, was ridden much more prominently and kept finding. You go back to Lecky Watson running a year ago, came off the bridle, but was never closer than the line. Yeah. I'm wondering if Henry de Bromhead seems to up his game in the spring. I imagine they're holding the 3-mile ploy for some point, if you see what I'm saying. I imagine there's another 5 or 6 or 7 pounds of improvement once he tackles 3 miles. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes on his entries. Ideally, I'd like to see him run over 2.5 again. And then if they could get a mark in the high 140s for the spring, be it at Cheltenham, Aintree or the DRF or somewhere, I'm convinced this horse has got a big win in him in a 3-mile handicap. Forget he's a Supreme Novice Hurdle winner. In regards to his jumping, it was very sketchy on his chase debut. He's learning on the job. I wouldn't ever say he's a wonderful jumper, but he's becoming efficient. And that may be enough. Yeah. And if you look at his kind of raw ability, he strikes me as a horse who should be better than 147. So he's the notebook horse for the spring. As soon as I see him in a 3-mile race, I'll be getting involved.
Okay, so we have seen a Supreme winner.
There we go, yeah.
We've seen another one with the likes of, say, My Daddy Paddy, Hurricane Pat, who knows? Steve, what else caught your eye?
Yeah, the Supreme market was kind of here, there and everywhere. You had to have eyes everywhere. My Daddy Paddy obviously won at Haydock on Wednesday. Yeah. There's now 5-1 for the Supreme, but has been given a mark of 138. To put that into context, Hurricane Pat was given 136 for what he did at Sandown. That was impressive for the Moors, who have obviously come alive at Sandown over Friday and Saturday. They also had Mac Toad win that juvenile hurdle, is impressive. It's now 12-1 for the Triumph as well, and they obviously had Salva a few years ago place in that race. You also had St. Bacco win a 2-mile maiden hurdle at Navan. It's now 20-1 for the Supreme as well. So that Supreme market is good. Taurus Bay as well has been given 132 for winning that. So I think the Formby at Christmas is going to
say,
it's going to be an unbelievable race. Normally all eyes are on Kempton, but we're going to have to keep an eye on Aintree at the same time.
Rishi.
Might have to. It could be a really exciting race if those leading horses line up.
Yeah, and it'd be nice to have a few UK contenders for the Supreme. I made on the case last week that Tutti Quanti was the only UK runner in the Supreme last year, and it's not going to be the same this year.
No. Okay. I'll also give a mention to Carla Conti, who won the Mares Novices Chase, 6-1 for the Mares Chase with Bet365. But she was pretty impressive. She just looks rock solid. She was second to Amsterdam over hurdles. At the time, may have looked slightly disappointing, but she's actually a pretty consistent and honest mare. So those are a few others that are worthy of a mention in the last week or so in this week's Racing Recap. Now, before we get into our weekend preview, just to let you know that our sponsor Bet365 have a best odds guaranteed offer. It's available on every single UK and Irish race from 8 a.m. on the day of the race. If you take a price and the SP is bigger, Bet365 will pay you at the bigger odds. And full T's and C's can be found on the website. So we're going to have a look ahead now to what's coming up this weekend. And of course, it is a big meeting at Cheltenham. The December Gold Cup, renamed in memory of the Hunt Family Fund this year, for which Ho Jolie Smoke is your 4-1 favourite with Bet365, Vincenzo 4-1, Jaguar 9-2, Kim Rock 7-1, Colonel Harry, who won an Aintree 8-1, 10-1 Imperial Saint, and Will o' the Wise, and 12s bar those. Ed, you can open the batting on this. What is the play?
I'm with Colonel Harry. I wonder if he's got off lightly for £4 for the Grand Sefton. There's that thing you can never know about is the bounce factor. But interesting interviewing Jamie Snowden about this horse. If you go back to January, New Year's Day meeting, absolutely tanking coming down the hill, foul 4 out, bad cutting his leg, got badly infected, and they nearly lost the horse. Hence he missed the spring, and he was just on the back burner, and they thought that might be it for him. Now, ahead of the Grand Sefton, if Jamie's views were if we could jump around in the top 5, then we know we've got something to work on. I think he pleasantly surprised Connections on ground, which was just about soft for him, according to Jamie Snowden and Gavin Sheehan, and he did it in good enough fashion. He was taken off his feet early. It was like, oh, hang on, I'm back again here. I need to remind myself of the job, but he warmed to the task. He's a strong stayer at the trip. They tried him over 3 1/4, didn't they, a while ago, and he didn't stay. He got £4, but I think that's probably underestimates him here, 148. I just can't get out of my head how he was really travelling on New Year's Day. He's back on the new course of distance here now. I live a stone's throw from the course. He's absolutely launched it down for the last 3 days. I think it is a blend of good, soft and soft at the moment. A couple of dry days, but then Friday into Saturday is another deluge of rain. Jamie Stone he repeats, he will not let this horse down again on spring ground. He's had enough problems with his legs. It's cutting up. There's not going to be a big field here. Soft ground, fine. He's unexposed. Jamie Snowden team, ridiculous form. Was it touching nearly 40% since the 1st of November? The R just continue to fire in the winners. I know Garlaw's in here as well. He'd probably want the opposite. He'd probably want good ground. Yeah. But it sounds like he is going to run, according to Jamie, and Isabel Ryder's going to ride, potentially to keep the weights down, in my view, for Colonel Harry. I think everything will be set right for him. And he's got race fitness on his side. I think he's a very solid each-way player. Okay,
8-1, Bet365. Steve?
I'm pretty strong on Vincenzo here. I looked at a few trends for this. 6 of the last 11 winners ran in the Paddy Power Gold Cup, which I thought was interesting because you get a lot of them that run sort of 3rd, 4th, 5th and then come and step forward into this. And I know that hasn't really been the modus operandi for Sam Thomas this season. They've been generally ready to rock and roll on their first starts, but I think he should really come on for that run. He was really well supported. He was 130 favourite, wasn't he, for the Paddy Power Gold Cup. I only found Panic Attack too good. She then went on to win the Coral Gold Cup on her next start. It's now rated £12 higher. Vincenzo, 4 lengths behind her, is only £2 higher here, albeit that Dylan Johnston's lost his £3 claim since then. So you could argue that it's £5 higher. Had 5 starts over fences, won 2 of those and finished runner-up in the other 3. I just thought he was really solid. It's slightly disappointing there's only 12 runners in this, but I found it hard to see him out of the frame given ground, stable form, course form, and the fact that he does look progressive.
Okay. Well, you know that one of my non-runners that I've put up, one of the many non-runners that I've put up as my best bet of the week, Jaguar. When we were looking at the Paddy Power Gold Cup, I was thinking which of these runners has the profile to improve beyond handicap company and potentially turn into a graded horse. He was the only one that I could see of that ilk, and he still remains that horse. He's obviously got a good record at Cheltenham. He's potentially still very exciting because even when he won at the festival, he didn't jump entirely as well as he can. And he's got that one defeat at Uttoxeter, which ultimately isn't that bad anyway. And he just has loads of potential. Stable form, not the greatest, and that's a slight concern. But this horse, I'm still backing him to make the progress out of this sort of company. So I'll stick with Jaguar 9-2, Vincenzo 4-1, Colonel Harry, interesting shout at 8-1. On Saturday, we've also got the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle at Cheltenham. Conman John, who was pretty impressive when he won there, is the 11-8 favourite. They call me Hugo, 11-4, Real Courts, 7-2, Reckless Spending 6-1, Carlin Rig 8s, and then his double figures or bigger the remainder. Steve, what do you like here?
The Tizzards won this in 2017 with Kilbrick and Storm. Went on to win the Albert Bartlett, was Harry Cobden's first festival winner. They then won it with Rock Point the year after. So it's obviously a race that the Tizzards do target. They run Casino des Mottes here. Now he finished 19 lengths behind Conman John on his first start here in October. And obviously it will take a good performance to reverse that form. But I was at Kempton for Racing TV when he won last time, and I was really impressed. I really liked the runner-up that day, Fresh Kicks for Nicky Henderson. He went on to boost that form, winning at Plumpton by 6 lengths on his next start. I was against Casino des Mottes that day because of the drop back down from 3 mile to 2 mile 5. Goes back up to 3 miles here. He, looking at him in the paddock, is a massive chasing type of the future. Going back up to 3 miles will suit. The softer ground, again, will suit. And I think he's around 16-1. Now, obviously, that 19 lengths that he's got to make up with Conman John is the issue. But I think he'd only had one run in a point-to-point before that, was inexperienced, and you saw that throughout the race. It was really good on the speed figures, that contest at Cheltenham as well. And I just think he's probably overpriced at 16-1, albeit that he has obviously got that distance to make up with a favourite.
Okay, yeah, 16-1 with Bet365 for the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. Ed, what do you like?
Yeah, I'd be in agreement. I think he'll bridge the gap significantly. Regards to the favourite, funny enough, Casino des Mottes is the only horse who really franks that 3 mile form from October. The second's been well beaten since. The third got stuffed in, I think it was a Leicester Maiden Hurdle. The fourth's been tailed off at Exeter. So there's nothing really coming out of that Conman John run other than Casino des Mottes. And typical Tizzard horse, I think 3 miles, softer ground, at a time as well where a lot of the Tizzard horses were needing their seasonal reappearance. I think this scenario will be much more his liking. The other thing as well is the ground. It was pretty lively, the ground for the October meeting. Kelso at the start of October was officially good ground. Conman John could be more of a slog here. Now, it's not to say we don't know whether he'll go on it, but I get the feeling the gap will narrow between the two. I think, yeah, Casino des Mottes probably overlooked in the market here, and yeah, I'd probably be in agreement at the prices.
Okay, I might have a bit each around Carlin Rig. I just felt he was given a gentle enough introduction at Chepstow, and with a bit more effort, I think he might have won the race. But obviously that's conjecture. But I felt it was a really nice start. I don't know what Dan Skelton's going to run in it, but if he does go, if he is declared, and depending who Harry rides, I thought he might be an each-way play because you just don't know how good he is. And I thought it was a good enough run, even in the context of what he did first time up. Okay, that's the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. On the Friday, there's a pretty interesting looking 3 1/4 mile handicap chase, primarily because it sees the return of Lompresse at 3-1, the favourite with Bet365, King Turgeon 4-1, the Doyen Chief, no run last time, although those of us who backed him lost our money. Sad times. Also 4-1, the Short Go 11-2, 6-1 Heracles Westwood, 7s Henry's Friend, and 10s bar those. Is it a bar or something at a shorter price?
Something at a shorter price. I'll touch on Lompresse because obviously it's good to see him back. He will no doubt come on for his first run for 300 days. I do know he's got a good record fresh. If you look through his form, he's won after 773 days, 223 days, 232 days, and 391 days. So he has got a good record fresh. But I just think the older they get, the harder it is to get them fit for that reappearance run. His only defeat on his reappearance actually came with 3rd in a King George. So good form fresh, but I would be against him just at the prices at the age that he is. I backed the short go on his reappearance at the October meeting, finished 4th, beaten 3 3/4 lengths that day. Now, the positives are how the form of that race has worked out. 3-Car Bragg won that day, finished second behind Panic Attack in the Coral Gold Cup on his next start, is now rated £6 higher. The second, Back Me or Sack Me, hasn't ran since, is only £1 higher. I've actually backed him for the Paddy Power Chase at Christmas at 14-1, given how the form of this has worked out. Then you've got Ho Jody Smoke in there as well, finished 3rd in the Paddy Power Gold Cup on his next start, as well fancied for the December Gold Cup. Now, the short go finished 4th, is only £2 higher in this race, and I did think it was a race full of promise that day. Now, the negative, as Ed touched on earlier in the show, is Henry de Bromhead's form. Now, on the face of it, 0 from 44 in the last 19 days, but he has had 8 seconds in that time, including his previous 2 runners. So you kind of... It's not as bad as it first looks when you look at this.
Rather than hitting the corner flag.
Exactly. I still think he's competitively handicapped. I think there's a reason why Henry de Bromhead's brought him over here, because he knows that he's got that Cheltenham form, and I thought around 11-2 is fairly solid.
Yeah, 11-2 the short go, Bet365 for the Turners handicap chase. Ed?
I'm very lukewarm on this race at the moment, but interested in the Gal Road could be going back over fences here. He's only had the 2 chase starts. He didn't convince. He did win one of them. He's got very good Cheltenham form. You know, he's won a Cleve Hurdle. He's chased home Lucky Place in the Rowkill. He didn't run badly at all in the November meeting under that huge weight, finishing 3rd, where there was obviously splits on who was going which way on the ground and everything. There could be mileage in him off 146 because he's thoroughly unexposed as a chaser. But whether he lines up or not, I don't know. So I'll be playing this race powder dry for now. But Gal Road, if he lines up, I will have a look at.
Okay, I'll have another go with the Doyen Chief. I'm a big fan of the horse. I love the way he progressed last season. I thought it was a really good comeback run, a banger where he's come to win his race. He's made a little bit of a mistake at the last. Ryder loses his irons, gets mugged on the line. And then, unfortunately, that horrendous start for the Coral Gold Cup was a write-off for him. He got left behind. So he's worth another chance of this trip.
Just because our final point before we move on in regards to Lompresse, trying to defy a BHA mark of 162. There was some brilliant brain better than mine on X who did. If he could defy 162 first time out, it would be in the top 15 weight carrying performances of the last decade or something. So Lompresse is going to have to be 10 rising 11 better than ever. And I just think it's throwing this race into turmoil in terms of horses out the weights, and he's setting it up for the Doyen Chief to get a fair start and etc. And
at last. Don't miss the start, whatever you do. Okay, that's a look at the Turners. Lots of other good racing in and around it. There are a couple of Bet365 sponsored races that we might mention at Doncaster as well. I'll let you have a first go on anything else that we need to take note of running in the next week, but save your best bet for later on.
In terms of anything else, no is the answer. No, I've got no. I was going through the fields in terms of there's just too many unknowns at the moment. I mean, we've covered the races. Casino de Mott, I do think it's overpriced. Yeah. I think generally the market is overlooking that individual. But other than that, yeah, I'm not going to lie, I'm powder dry. Powder dry.
Happy with that, Steve?
Good, because you've got about 10 minutes of me talking here. Every race that I've seen to look through, I liked a few at. So we'll go through in chronological order. The 12:05 at Cheltenham on Friday. The Skeltons won this last year with Country Mile. They look set to run Manila Marathon, who I thought was really impressive on stable debut, winning at Lingfield by 3 1/4 lengths. I'd be interested in his declared. The 12:40 at Cheltenham on Friday. Nicky Henderson won this in 2019 with Mr. Fisher, 2020 Refusal Raffles, and last year with Django Bay. So obviously a race that he targets. He has both Calafé en Vol and Jericho de Repenay in. Jericho de Repenay will need to obviously step forward from that reappearance run. I'd be more tempted with Calafé en Vol, but obviously I assume they're only going to run one of those. 1:15 at Cheltenham on Friday. Brentford Hope looks set to revert back to hurdling, booked Megan Fox to claim £7. Now, I just want to note this race for Fortune de Mare. It's jocked up with Harry Skelton on board. Just bear in mind that the county hurdle is the target for him. Now, he's had 3 starts over hurdles now. Needs 5 runs prior to a county hurdle run as a novice. Last year in the county hurdle, Norman Fletcher got in off a mark of 127. It didn't fill. Fortune de Mare is already rated 127. So won't want to go up in this race. This could be the latest instalment of Skelton versus Handicapper. So I wouldn't be looking to back Fortune de Mer, and he could well make the market in that 115 on Friday. 225 Cheltenham Friday is the Veterans Chase. Eldorado Allen won one of these at the November meeting. Fugitive was only 5th. Fugitive is, I've loved for the last few years. I would be surprised to see him turn the tables, though. I think he's only £2 better off at the weights. I think that was a 37 length defeat that day. So Eldorado Allen, I thought, was fair enough at around 4 to 1.
3 to 1.
In that, oh yeah, I thought that was a fair enough price.
Yeah.
3 o'clock at Cheltenham Friday is the cross country. Now the likes of Desertmoor House, Bustleton, Mr Coffee, and Late Night Pass are already high enough in the weights to get in to the cross country in March. Now that it's a handicap, I am fascinated by J'arrive de Lay. First start for Paul Byrne and Emmett Mullins here. Now, he's only a 6-year-old. He's been bought out of France when still an Entire. He's been gelded. Now, I'm not going to claim to know a huge amount about the form, but they're obviously a shrewd outfit. I noticed JP hasn't got a candidate in the cross-country this year. The lowest prices of his in the cross-country at the Cheltenham Festival is Fakir Dudery, and he is point-to-pointing for Enda Bolger. So what I can see here is J'arrive de Lay to win this off a mark of 123, go up enough in the weights in order to get into the cross-country in March and arrive in the green and gold. He's currently 7 to 1 for that cross-country race, and I think he is fascinating.
Interesting, yeah.
Same sentiments apply to the 335 at Cheltenham. This is a 3-mile handicap hurdle. Now, what I always do in here is look through horses that are qualified for the Pertemps. That goes for last year's winner, Long Draw. Now, he won this race last year, but he finished 4th in a Pertemps qualifier on his reappearance. He's already qualified, caught my eye there, and caught my eye on his next run when only 4th. I imagine he will be doing exactly the same in this race, and he's making the market. I haven't quite come down on who to look at yet. But just like Fortune de Mer, it's more of a I'm against these horses as opposed to actually tipping one against them. A couple more for Saturday. The 12:40 at Cheltenham is a 3-mile, 1.5 novice handicap chase. Haiti Calor won this last season. Looking through, if you're looking at who's going to be good enough to win and go on to the festival, the Jukebox Kid is entered up here. I was impressed with his chasing debut at Carlisle for Ben Pauling, so he'd be the one for me in that. 3:35 at Cheltenham on Saturday is a 2.5 mile mares handicap hurdle. Now, Nurse Susan won it in 2023. Woodoo won it last year. Now, Nurse Susan's back again in it this year. Has raced 3 times at Cheltenham, finished 4th in the mares novice hurdle behind Love Envoy. Won this race 2 years ago off a mark of 125 and then was well beaten in the Martin Pipe off a mark of 133. Now, she's been well beaten on her latest 2 starts, but as a result has gone down to a mark of 127, so only £2 higher than winning this a couple of years ago. She's at 7 to 1. I thought that was a big price. And then, like you touched on, Bet365 have a sponsored card at Doncaster. Not the biggest of prices, but Katira, I thought, in the Bet365 mares hurdle there. Well clear on ratings, even if she replicates her 4th place finish behind Woodoo at Ascot, I thought would be good enough to win this. I think she's around 8 to 15, but she might be one to chuck into a few accumulators.
I think we've put Steve at the top of the class for homework done.
Yeah.
Incredible. There's some really interesting thoughts, particularly like your J'arrive de Lay. I presume that's the right way to pronounce it.
I don't think it's de l'Est. That
No.
doesn't seem... If you go into if you bought one from France and there's J'arrive, I don't think you could then call it J'arrive de l'Est.
I'm sure someone will correct us if we're wrong. But good work, Steve. That's an interesting call. Just add one to the Bet365 Pennine Handicap Chase. Alcedo, who obviously, we all know how the Venetia Williams stable is going, but did manage to win. I think it's 5 to 1 for that race. Dot Pick Me 7 to 2. Heracles Westwood has also entered in that 4s. Alcedo 5 to 1. So I'm taking a chance with him for the Venetia Williams stable. And one other horse that I'm going to mention, which is due to run on Thursday in the listed Mares Novices Chase. You talked about Jamie Snowden earlier on. There's a horse called Hollygrove Chacha, who I know Diva Luna is in that race, and she, on official ratings, went up significantly for beating Queen's Gamble and Joyeuse at Bangor. I think she was slightly flattered personally.
Okay.
Joyeuse hasn't finished either of her most 2 recent runs, and Queen's Gamble came then, got very tired, so she's going back up in trip. This is more sort of Hollygrove Chacha's bag. She ran at Carlisle, watched the race again, there's a point where she's coming to win the race, and she doesn't jump it badly, the last fence, but she just leans slightly left-handed at the fence, and Gavin isn't that hard on her. I thought it was a really nice introduction to her season and over fences. I think she could be quite useful, and even though the rating said there's a lot of ground to make up, she's getting a bit of weight, obviously. I think she's going to take the beating here, so I'm really keen on her. So those are a few others to mention, not quite as extensive as Steve's homework, but hopefully somewhere in all that, there are a few more winners to add to the mix. Now, before we get into our best bets of the weekend, just to let you know of a free-to-play 6 horses challenge. It's available every weekend with free spins on offer if you get 2 or 3 selections correct. And there are prize pools available for 5 and 4 correct predictions, as well as the jackpot for all 6 T's and C's apply. So it's time for the best bets of the weekend, and Ed is up first.
I'm going to go with Colonel Harry in the December Gold Cup. More the rain, the merrier. Yard are on fire. Horse would have been second at worst if he not tumbled here on New Year's Day. Lovely comeback after a life-threatening injury. I think £4 is lenient. The race is going to cut up. There's a lot of ticks in the right boxes as an 8-1 poke each way.
Okay, Colonel Harry, 8-1 for the December Gold Cup. Steve?
I'm going to go with Nurse Susan in the 3:35 at Cheltenham on Saturday. Like I said, won it in 2023. Is only £2 higher than that day. Has good Cheltenham form, full stop. Finished 4th behind Love Boy in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle previously. I think you could discount her run in the Martin Pipe. That season was a bit of a mess, and yeah, she's 7-1.
Okay, and I'm going to go with Hollygrove Cha-Cha. I really like this mare. She was pretty smart over hurdles, and she looked to take defences quite well at Carlisle in a race won by Resplendent Grey, handstand second, and she was in with a shout of winning that race going down to the last. So I thought that she, going back against mares only in that listed race on Thursday at Warwick, even though on rating she's got a bit to find officially with Diva Luna, I think she's much better than her official rating, and I think she'll take the beating in that. So Colonel Harry for Ed in the December Gold Cup. Nurse Susan also on Cheltenham on Saturday for Steve, and Hollygrove Cha-Cha for me. That's it for this episode. Ed, thank you very much for coming in. What's your plan for the rest of the week?
Oh,
What's your bit of cricket?
Sort the children's tea out. No, a bit of cricket. Oh God, yeah, be down to Prestbury Park on Friday. Looking forward to that in the pouring rain. It should be good, and essentially it should be a good fun weekend. So looking forward to it.
I don't mind being at the races in the winter when it's
raining. Absolutely not. Love it. Yeah. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
And Steve, what about you? What's the week got ahead?
Well, I need to do some revision for Cheltenham on Friday and Saturday. I think haven't got enough selections for there. Not too much. Christmas tree will go up. So
it hasn't gone up yet.
No.
Oh my goodness! When did yours go up? Yours must.
A week ago. Well, last weekend. Yeah. So, and I was a bit late on that. But
and do you do the Christmas tree yourself?
Of course I don't.
I mean,
so what basically happens
is it a real one?
No.
Okay.
But my wife and my daughter do it, and then when my daughter goes to bed, my wife then moves around all the baubles so they're in the right places.
Yeah, it's the same in almost every house.
Rinse and repeat, isn't it? Yeah.
It's the same in every house. I go and get the tree.
Yeah.
And then I leave them to. So I've got it. I'll bring it in, put it in the stand, and all that, and then you guys decorate it. And then after the decorating done, they'll go, "Oh, that's amazing!" And you go, "Yeah, I haven't noticed any of it because I've been watching the football." Okay, that is it for this episode of Racing Weekly, brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. Thanks to Steve and to Ed for joining us on this show this week. Next week we're back. Steve Mellish is coming in. We'll be looking ahead to all the action at Christmas time, but in particular at Kempton and at Leopardstown. But for now, from all of the team here at Racing Weekly, bye-bye.